This is a day in the life of a dog groomer at Grand Style Pet Grooming in Tampa, Florida. Hang out with us during our all-day dog grooming live streams and enjoy our great chat community. All right, let's get busy. I'm starting my day today with Atticus, the toy poodle. We're going to get him straight into the tub. How's everybody doing early this Wednesday morning? All right, Mr. Atticus, it's bath time. Hello, Bubba. That's a good boy. Come here, Bubba. So in our Facebook group, I shared a video of the golden retriever who passed away at the dog show while he was on the table with the neck loop on. And somebody caught the part of the video from across the room. And it is a little hard to watch, but it's a very short, like 5-second thing just showing the man standing there while the dog is gasping. There's a man standing there with his hand, like, looks like it's right here, not knowing what to do and not even, you can tell, not even understanding the severity of the situation. And I believe it was another pet owner whose dog was being shown. Don't know the whole story, just bits and pieces of what I've read. And the only reason I bring this up and show that is because, and this is not bashing anybody, but there's a YouTube groomer who grooms a lot of dogs that slump on a neck loop, and you know, in her videos, and when they slump, you can see their neck arched up, and you can see a lot of times they're on a slip lead as well that's cross-tied to the table. So it's a neck loop and then a slip lead, and the dogs are slumping. And then you hear the groomer say, breathe, breathe, breathe. And she says that they hold their breath at times. Dogs don't hold their breath. I've never in my 60 plus years of being in a grooming salon seen a dog hold its breath during grooming. Like, not once. If they're not breathing, it's because they're not breathing. So I say this to say that man, from what I could tell in that video, number one, did not realize the severity of the situation, and number two, didn't know what to do. And if you who are, say, pet parents learning to groom your own dogs, watch videos like that with neck loops and dogs slumping into them, and it looked to me like that golden retriever was doing what golden retrievers do, becoming a heavy sack of potatoes and slumping. They do that. Any groomer in the world knows a golden just goes bloop and slumps, especially when you go to pick them up. And if you're trying to raise them up from here, they're going to slump more. So that's just a golden. I know a lot of Shih Tzus who do that too. But just understand, if you're a groomer, if you're new to the industry, if you're a pet parent, and you have a dog on a neck loop, you know, it doesn't take much. And you can see how little it took for that dog just slumping into that collar and wanting to lay down on that collar, you know. And even if you have a belly band on them, if they're slumping from the front, that can happen. So they don't have to fall off the table, you know. They can do it while they're on the table, and quickly things can turn bad. So what do you do if a dog is slumping like that? Well, you immediately unhook the collar, like immediately. And if the weight on the collar is too much, like many people said, you could have tipped that table over. But there seemed to be no alarm on that man's face. He seemed to know something was going on, but he didn't know what to do about it. And I don't think he realized. And that's my point. If pet parents don't realize, and they're trying to work on their dogs at home, or if a new groomer doesn't realize how quickly, like that groomer on YouTube's got 20 years experience, 25 by now, and yet she still does it, you know. So just be careful. And if a dog is laying into a collar like that, unhook the collar. Let the dog lay down. Because some dogs, they don't want to stand on the table, like at all. And you don't have to make them stand. You can let them lay down. Now that guy probably thought he was going to get in trouble if the dog messed up his hair because he was at a dog show. If he laid down, which with a golden it really wouldn't. But I don't know. And then, like, say if it's with a Shih Tzu, and one of the videos I'm thinking of was a Shih Tzu, a senior Shih Tzu. Not only can the Shih Tzu have a collapsing trachea, they have an elongated palate, which closes down on their throat quicker than most dogs. So especially Shih Tzus, or Old English Bulldogs, or Frenchies. Any dog with a flat face, they have an elongated palate, which is a soft part of the palate that goes down into the throat because their face isn't long enough to hold their whole palate. So any pressure there can and will close down on the throat and block their breathing. That's why they make those snorty noises when they breathe. And if they make those snorty noises when they breathe without anything going on, just think if something was pressing on their throat. So if you're a new groomer to the industry or grooming your dog at home, just be careful and don't trust everything you watch on the internet and think it's safe because somebody has a lot of experience. And don't think if a dog is slumping into a neck loop that they'll have the sense to stand up, because they don't. When a dog who slumps, they're gonna continue to slump. It's up to you to loosen it up. Because any pressure against them, including on their throat, they slump into it. They don't seem to realize. Same when you're trimming a dog's nails. The ones who rear up, they rear, tuck their front legs back and throw their head down. And they'll hold that position. And if they are throwing their head down with their weight, with their front legs tucked backwards against the neck loop, you have the same problem. The trachea can be crushed. The airway can be cut off. All kinds of stuff. And if the trachea gets crushed, then it's not going to open up and give them air, even if you get the collar off. So I know it's a hard topic this early in the morning, but it's an important one. Hold on, buddy. Let's put your conditioner on, then I'll go up front and take in that dog. Hi. How are you? Okay.
Ready?
Hey, Luca.
He's not very excited this morning.
Aw.
It's okay. He shouldn't be too bad. He does have one big knot on his ear.
Okay.
It's brushing it out, but I think it just needs to be cut. It's pretty bad.
Alright.
Watching it.
Looks like he may have been licking a lot under his tail, too.
Yeah, that's his new boarded habit, is the tail and the paws. The paws have gotten a little better,
Hey, buddy.
but
How are you?
you gonna be a good boy? Okay.
Any special instructions?
No, he was shaved probably June, so he doesn't really need to be cut that short. But
Okay.
we just keep him at like a similar length or cut him a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
A similar length to what he is now?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Be
All
good.
right. We'll text you when he's ready.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Atticus, back to the tub. Good boy. It's all right, Luca. So Luca is here for Cat to groom. She should be here at 8 o'clock. His appointment was at 8. So if you hear him fussing, it's just because he's got to wait. That's a good boy. I see you, Luca. You're a good boy. Last night, after I logged off, I got the bleach in the bucket and a broom,
And I scrubbed the edges of all my baseboards in here. And scrubbed the floor with a broom before I mopped it up. It is clean. Very, very, very clean. The person who was taking the video was taking a video of their own dog in the show ring from across the other side of the ring. And then there was a bit of a grooming area or a staging area on the opposite side of the show ring. So she was focused on her own dog in the show ring and did not realize that she caught what was happening in the background until she looked at it later. She had no idea what she was seeing because she was zoomed in on her own dog being shown and judged. So she had no idea. But there were other people standing right there. And you would think surely somebody would have figured it out, but the signs weren't that obvious. He was slumping into it and pulling his lips back and opening his mouth a bit, saying, "I can't breathe." But it wasn't like super obvious unless you knew what you were looking at. And that's why I'm saying it's so important for groomers and pet parents to understand what you're looking at. So let me see if I can find the example before I finish him up. Let's see. Here it is. Okay. So this is for educational purposes only that I'm showing this, and for no other reason. So, hold on.
Let me bring you guys up here. This is, again, copyright disclaimer. This is for educational purposes only. So, look at the way the collar is on this Shih Tzu, right? The way the dog is slumping into it. Look at the color of the dog's tongue. So the dog, look at the type of collars used. Slip leads around the neck, cross-tied. And then the dog is going to slump into it. Let's get to where the dog starts to slump, which is where the problem is. Okay, here the dog is slumping, but she's not showing the head. You can tell the dog is laying down with the collar still attached. Get to where it shows the head again. Okay, here the dog is slumping into the leash, wanting to lay down, right? As the dog is slumping, it's losing breath. Let's see if we can catch it better. So she's got the upper part of the lead angled up, so it's kind of hard to tell. But you can tell by the position of the dog's head, the dog is slumping into the collars. Right there, the dog is laying down. See her gasping for air? See this? She's struggling. She can't breathe. It's the laying down on the collars is the problem. And then the dog passes out. That's how quickly it happens. So that's what I'm saying. Hard to watch. But the pet parent's right there, right outside. The parent says, don't worry about it. Keep grooming my dog. They finish the dog after the dog wakes up. So anyway, let's dry Atticus. So number one, don't use a skinny little slip lead around the neck. Number two, if the dog slumps, unhook that leash immediately. Don't let the dog slump into the into the leash, because they can pass out that quickly. And if when they pass out, they crush their trachea, which I think that's what the necropsy said on the Golden Retriever, then they can't open it back up. And you would think a groomer with over 20 years experience would know that. Would you not? You would think so. But that's why I'm doing this as an educational sort of thing. Don't do that.
is here. He wants them about the same length he is now. She wants him about the same length he is now, not much off. And he said the mat in his ear you can cut out if you want to.
It's a good boy. Yes, you're a good boy. Cat is washing a vocal coton de Tulier. If I remember correctly, he's also vocal during his blow dries. Grand Style Dog Grooming. This is Suzanne. May I help you? Alright. So I will say that clip that I shared a little while ago showing the Shih Tzu on the collars, I did not have permission to share that clip. Matter of fact, I was told if I shared anything from that channel, she would sue me. But it's my understanding of the Fair Use Act that if it's for educational purposes only, you can do that. And I think it was a very good time to share the educational point of that clip. Also, the day that I emailed that person and asked for permission to share this or that from their channel, they went to my Google page and left me a 1-star review. And it was a pretty not nice review. The title of the person leaving the review is Best Vet. And that is definitely her. So I didn't appreciate that, just for contacting her and asking her if I could use content on my channel to leave a Google review. From Texas, never been to my salon. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, Fair Use Act, educational purposes only. I did it. And that was years ago when that happened. So, just saying. What did I do with that? There it is. Stay.
I'll be right back. Be right with you. Somebody had a matted Shih Tzu that they needed done today. Like right now. I'm like, we don't have anything available. So I referred him across the street. Hopefully they've got openings for him.
You silly boy. You silly boy. Stay. The other day we were talking about holding the front of the hairs between your fingers to be able to safely trim around the eyes. I don't think I've ever particularly done that because I don't think if I were to grab his hair here that that's going to give me the security I need when trimming around the eyes. And I know it's a commonly trained and believed position, but I feel that the C hold with a thumb up under the jaw, stretching the eyes back a little bit, and fingers behind the head, especially on these little dogs, gives you a lot better of a feel, especially on a dog like this who does this backwards, of what they're doing. And stretching the skin in this hold helps to pull it back and pop it up so you can trim the hair while it's popped up from being stretched back. So I feel it's safer this way than if I were holding this and trimming here, because that wouldn't make sense to me, especially with him doing this, and he's going to do that even more if I'm holding the front of the beard. So it just doesn't make sense. He's going to be throwing his head no matter what you do. But I just feel I have a better hold that way because I'm balancing the back of the head and keeping him from throwing too far back. It also allows me to have slight pressure here. So when he goes to rear up like he just did, I can put a little pressure on the shoulders to help keep him still. And that might seem all fine and dandy with a little dog, but I did my big dogs the same way. It would just be a much wider opened hand and more of a, you know, definitely not easy though on a bigger dog. But I would still want a hand cut behind the head, not from the muzzle up front. As in holding the hair. Just personal preference. So here, the hold is loosely up under here, finger holding the ears, thumb on the bridge of the nose, back behind where the airflow is, so you don't ever want to press right here. And that's going to hold the entire head while I come up under here. And of course, you always want to be considerate. Don't have your fingers in their eyes. Don't block the airway here. Don't, push up under here where it's pushing up. Keep your fingers solidly across the jawbone. So it's a considerate thing. The more considerate you are, the better they're going to behave. And speaking of being considerate, so, there's been a couple of brush outs lately that have me rethinking brushing dogs out. And it bothers me, but then destroying the coat bothers me as well, or causing coat damage on a dog that you can cause coat damage to by shaving it. And I'm starting to rethink my position on accepting those dogs at all. So, somebody's got to do it for sure, one way or another, whether you shave it or brush it out. The fault ultimately falls with the pet parent for not doing their homework in those situations. But, part of the thought processes with me as I move forward in my journey as a pet groomer, no matter how many years you have in it, you're always growing and changing. And I, just like everybody else, received training, and the training that I received back in the day, everything was dematted, everything was brushed out, everything was made pretty, and you never said no. And that's the way I was brought up in the business. That's the way I was trained. Years ago, I started looking at dog grooming like, what would you do if the pet parent were standing over your shoulder watching you? How would you act? And, that's been a balancing act for sure, because so many groomers have and do work behind closed doors. And even with cameras on them, like security cameras and all, you see the evidence of, how harsh grooming can be sometimes, right? And those people are bad, definitely bad. But I think the point that I'm trying to say is, handling the dog as if the pet parent's like right over you is exactly what you want to do, right, as a professional. And then in addition to that, and many times pet parents will say, I want it brushed out no matter what, and those pet parents will watch with glee as you do what they want. And then, like that video I shared earlier of another groomer with the Shih Tzu, that pet parent wanted that dog groomed so badly that the dog almost died on the table, completely passed out. And yet the pet parent said, yes, please continue, while he stood there holding the dog's head and let her finish. Sometimes pet parents are not a good judge. Just saying. So, where does my mind go from there? So, over the last couple of days, I've been thinking hard about this. What would I want done to me? So it's not what would the pet parent approve of anymore. That's out the window. What would I want done to me? And that's how I'm going to proceed going forward. Number one, safety. Number two, what if I were the dog, what would I want? And so that's where I'm going in my head. So if I can't do a groom in a way that I would want to be handled if I were behaving in such a way as some of these dogs do, then I don't think I should do it, period. So, number one, I'm not going to cause permanent damage to a coat. And number two, I'm not going to put a dog through a grueling brush out to save the coat. I'm simply going to refer them out. And the problem with referring them out is they're going to get shaved. And that means somebody's going to cause damage to that coat, but it's not going to be me. So that's what I'm going to do. A little brush out like the doodle yesterday, that wasn't a big deal. It came out pretty good. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the grueling brush outs like the Pomeranian yesterday. That was pretty hard. You know, that's a lot. And that comes from a dog not being brushed for 11 weeks. And if it wasn't brushed properly. So pet parents need to learn to do their homework. They need to know how to do it right. And I do try to train that. But that's just not fair to a dog. And if I get paid to be unfair to the dog, I don't feel that's fair. You know? Pet parents will say, do whatever you have to do. Just make them pretty. You know? And I'm going to say no. And sometimes I can't feel how bad it is on the way in. And a lot of times I can't see how bad it is till the dog's wet. And by then it's too late. I have to finish that day. Or it's going to be 10 times worse. And I don't do pre-bath brush outs typically because that's even harder on the dog. So that makes it hard to figure it out. So I'm going to have to figure out that part of it on a better intake procedure to make sure of just how grueling of a process it's going to be. So I'm going to have the pet parent wait while I bring the dog back on my table, put the dog on the table, scour over it if I suspect there's a problem, and make a decision before the client leaves. And dogs who routinely come in that condition will simply be blocked from online booking, and which will make them have to call, which we can have that discussion at that time. All right. I'm going to go text his pet parent that he is ready to go. There you go, buddy. Here's your cookies. I contacted Carly's mom to see if it's okay, but I'd like to catch her happy arrival like out in the waiting room. I told her I'll block out her voice and her face, but when you go to take in Carly, I want to be on the other side showing her greeting you to show how happy she is. And then unhook her when, after I get back in, for her to come running down the hallway. She goes to her kennel without a leash. Alrighty. Atticus says, let me out right now. Yeah, Pomeranian coats are very specific, and that's why I need to re-up my Pomeranian page. So, let's see. I'll bring you guys up here. So on my page, on my website, when you're on the home page, if you go to haircut choices by breed, there's a drop down. A lot of people tend to miss the Yorkies because it's way down there. It's in alphabetical order. But if you go to the Pomeranian and similar dogs, This is for dogs with primitive coat types. It explains the coat and the well-maintained coat, what it looks like. So if a dog's coat is well-maintained, the undercoat is fairly loose and not loose, but it's not as packed in, so the dog stays cooler if they're properly brushed out. They need to be brushed properly weekly on a Pomeranian or an Arctic coated dog. So you can see here, it shows how the air can flow through. There's plenty of room there. The guard hairs are rather sparse, and then you have the undercoat hairs that are loose. When the coat is in the winter time, your undercoat hairs are thicker, but they're still not intertwined. When you do not, this is what the Pomeranian's coat looked like yesterday. When you do not keep it brushed, each follicle produces this much hair. And if you don't brush it out, a lot of these are just loose and sitting there in the follicle, blocking not only the airflow to the skin. And so every follicle looks like this. So you don't have this blank area side on the sides. You have one of these, then one here, and then one here, and then one here. They're everywhere. And you can't even possibly get to the dog's skin. It's ridiculously thick. So all this loose stuff had to be removed from that Pomeranian yesterday. It was terrible. When you shave it, it'll look like this when it's shaved, and the guard hairs and the undercoat hairs will be of an equal length. But when it regrows, the secondary hairs, so they're a triple coat, so they have undercoat, secondary hairs, and primary hairs. Their secondary hairs are going to grow past their guard hair, and the guard hair will stay stunted at whatever level you cut it to, and the secondary hairs are going to push up sparsely through that, and then the undercoat will actually grow in triple thick like this, right? If you shave a Pomeranian a year later, if they're prone to alopecia, the coat will regrow like this, with some areas growing long and thick and other areas not regrowing at all. On my website, I have several links about the primitive coat type and the difference between hair and fur. This is my favorite trim to do on a Pomeranian, where you can trim the pants, the underline, the chest, and a little bit that grows up past the ears. Hi.
Hello.
It'll be 85. Time to go, Atticus. Good Bowie. That's a good puppy. Hold on. There we go. Let's go. Time to go. Bye-bye. Come here. Let me mute my microphone. Don't want to take everybody with me. Not going to mute it. Just going to put it on the back microphone. want to be out there, you know. All right, so let's finish this up real quick. So you can see if I would have shaved the Pomeranian yesterday, in a year's time he might have grown back like this, right? Don't want to do that to a dog, even if it needs to be done. If you hand scissor one like this, they'll grow back like this. So here you can see that this is not the dog's normal color, and the coat is terribly packed in. You can see the tail is like totally packed in. The undercoat is packed in, and the undercoat grew back like triple thick. If you hand scissor one like this, they typically grow back like this. So previously, before hand scissoring, the dark outer coat would have been as long as all this sparse hair that you see. And yet when it grew back, you can see the underline of the outer coat. Then you can see the secondary hairs that grew past that line. So it was scissored way up to here, and you just had secondary hairs grow back, but not the primary hairs. This was one of my clients. They loved him hand scissored. When he grew back, the secondary hairs grew back. The primary hairs did not. This is another image of him. You can clearly see the scissor line of the primary hairs, the guard hairs. Then you can see the secondary hairs that are the lighter color grew back way past the primary hairs. This is why I prefer not to hand scissor them. I do. Some clients prefer it, and they don't care that it grows back that way. But when a person says take them as short as you can without doing any damage to the coat, we can't. There's like nothing. We can't hand scissor them and not do any damage to the coat, because these primary hairs may take years, up to 7 years, to regrow, if at all. This is a dog's tail that had been scissored. You can clearly see the scissor line. This is years later, without the tail being touched, years and years. And you can see that the secondary hairs grew past where the primary hairs were, and the primary hairs did not regrow years later. These are the tools that I recommend for the primitive coat type, the Pomeranian, the Chow, the American Eskimo, the Samoyed, any of those type of dogs. And when we go down, we're talking about line brushing. That's the correct technique. Only you want to use the actual brushing part of the brush. Don't flip it over and use the back of the brush, please. And then we have how to prevent matted hair and a few key things to know about the primitive coat type. I'm going to work on this some more. This was done quickly on Sunday, but I need more information there. These are full coated Pomeranians who are trimmed up in the outline like I feel is safe. And these are hand scissored Pomeranians and a long haired Chihuahua and Pekingese. This dog's hair, they liked him clipped really short. He stayed really short for years before the alopecia symptoms set in, and then he went into alopecia. And so we had to go shorter and shorter just to keep him looking halfway decent, even though he got done once a month. But his coat was totally destroyed. And it was actually because of him that I made up my mind. I'm not going to shave down a Pomeranian if they ask me to, no matter what. So I'll hand scissor them this short like Puff Daddy and Radar. I'll hand scissor them this short with clear warnings on this page. I tell people to go to this page and read the warnings. Understand what's going to happen. And people who say that their Pomeranians are hot, they're only hot if the coat is neglected. They're not hot if you keep them brushed. As a matter of fact, they stay quite comfortable if you keep them properly brushed out, even with those super thick coats. All right, let's get the table clean. Oh yeah, Dottie says, I have read that short-haired show dogs have a lot of grooming as well. Every little bit shows, but for everyday people you wouldn't know. Dobermans get extensive trimming, all the cowlicks shaved clean, just everything. The dogs are as sleek and beautiful as can be. Just that's how they look, so sleek. Beagles, I used to show groom beagles. Beagles get their faces shaved like a poodle. We do poodle faces on beagles. Clean, so it shows a nice lean back skull. The bottle brush tail is scissored in. It is enhanced for that bottle brush look. The cowlicks are cleaned off on those. The pants, they'll grow kind of shaggy. You trim that up nice so it looks very, very pristine. Yeah, short-haired dogs get a lot of grooming. Unless the breed standard specifically says no. But even then, people might do it enough in advance to keep it from showing up too much. So when I refused for a few years to trim the primitive coat type at all, I lost almost every Pomeranian and long-haired Chihuahua client I had. So, you know, pet parents want what they want, especially the hand-scissored ones. When I said I can't do it, I won't do it, they all went and found somebody who would. So there's that too. So these days I just make sure clients educated, let them make an educated decision, and then we'll go for that from there. If they make the educated decision to have their Pomeranian hand scissored, I'll do it. But even then, the undercoat grows back thicker and more, the texture is different. So even when you hand scissor a Pomeranian, you're changing the amount of undercoat that grows, and it becomes very, very dense. So if you're doing it to save on the amount of brushing that you have to do, you're only making it worse, right? Their coats, when they're in proper balance, brush right out, and they don't have the super dense undercoat. So even Simba, he's got a super triple thick coat. And when you look at it, you're like, oh my gosh. But when I show his hair up close, his secondary hairs and his primary hairs are equal in length. And that leaves the coat more open and more breathable than, and because he gets a full groom, bath, brush out every 3 weeks, the undercoat layer stays very open. If he goes to the 4th week, it really starts to pack. So that's why he gets done every 3 weeks. His pet parents recognize that and take care of that. He has fabulous pet parents that understand the assignment. And that's not something you have to have done professionally. You can easily learn to do it at home. It's just having the right tools and the time. All right. Next up is Gigi. She's a senior poodle. You want a bath first, Gigi? Okay, we'll go put you in the tub. Good girl. I have a small grooming table somewhere here in the shop. I need to figure out where I put it. I'm going to put it in the room up front so I can have a table to put dogs on and go over them closer to the waiting room. I need to figure that out. Yeah, it's a good girl. So I have another page on the website for the spaniel type coats, the flat coats. Spaniels and Cavaliers and long-haired Dachshunds, that explains the same type of stuff, but it's slightly different for that coat type. So it explains it more from the point of view of those dogs, and then gives the recommended tools for those dogs, which are a little different. And you notice I never rake out Pomeranian coats. Like, even if they're cut shorter, I don't rake them. It's a brush and a comb only. No rakes, no carding, no stones. But if you do it for a flat-coated dog, it's a completely different process. Each of the different coats have their own process. Good girl, Fiji. I decided from now on, normally I say, hold on guys, I gotta go do laundry, and I just kind of leave you guys hanging. From now on, whenever I have to go do laundry, I'm gonna do a Q&A while I'm doing laundry. The same if I'm making bows and bandanas. Not if I'm just making one, but if I'm making a few at a time, I'll do a Q&A during that time. And that way, even though you can't see me on camera, we can talk. That actually might be a good place to put one of those spare cameras. Who is this? I don't know who this is. I'll be right back. I got it, cat. to Gigi. That was a new client with a golden doodle mini. They get her fully groomed every 3 weeks. That was a new client with a mini golden doodle. Gets a full haircut every 3 weeks. Very nice people. Yay. I know. That one yesterday was a sweetheart. She's going to be a regular client, and she's getting a second one, so she's going to be a really good client. Oh, everything I did to her, she'd just reach around and give me kisses. Sweet, sweet dog. What's the matter, Luca? I think I already did her second shampoo, but since I got interrupted, it's like, well, maybe she'll get a third one. Yeah, now that I think about it, I think I already did this. Oh well. That's what happens when we get distracted. Matter of fact, did I already do conditioner? No, I don't think so. If I did, we're gonna do it again. Sometimes I work on autopilot, and then when I get distracted, it's like, where was I? I don't remember. But then thinking back about what I was talking about earlier about, like, say, not brushing out the Pomeranian or Papillon from the other day. If I would have sent her away, she would have gone somewhere else and she would have been shaved down. Coat would have been damaged pretty badly from the shave down. The pet parent would have an increased distrust and dislike of groomers. The dog would get groomed less and less often, with a coat that's even in worse condition than before because it is now super triple cottony because it got shaved and not growing back right. And as a result of the brush out, while it was hard, the dog is now going to get groomed every 4 weeks. And the pet parent understands and is going to keep up with it, hopefully. So there's that. The Pomeranian I could talk to, explain the problem, and offer a more frequent appointment to alleviate the problem. So by not sending them away and not shaving them down, we can bring them into the fold of proper maintenance. But even then, the brush out is still so hard on the dog. It's kind of the same question as I always struggled with the seniors. It's like, do I do seniors that I know that it's super hard on them or could even, you know, be harmful to their health? Do I not do the seniors and put them in that predicament? You know, such hard questions in dog grooming from a moral standpoint. You know? And it's always this back and forth with myself. Like, what's the right decision? Constantly. Bye, Luca. All right, let's get her dry. So while we're on this subject, people are concerned that the Samoyed is going to become very popular because of Taylor Swift's dog. This dog in this image looks to me to be hand scissored short, right? So, my concern is if this dog is hand scissored short, with the social media influence, will people, just like the boo trim for the Pomeranian years ago, will people start wanting their Arctic coat type dogs trimmed to look like this dog? And anyway, it's the same thing that we've been talking about, and the warnings of how the coat regrows is a big, important question. And I like in that image on that Reddit post underneath it, how it's talking about how the dog's ears are laid back and he must be scared coming down the stairs. It's like, oh my gosh, people. Most dogs, when they're navigating going downstairs, are going to lay their ears back. That's just kind of normal. They're just thinking. It's like every little body language from a dog. Oh, he must be scared. It's like, no, it's just being a dog. All right, let's get her clipped. Stay, G. Stay. So Harry and George are here. If you hear a vocal dog in the background that sounds like it's dying, it's just George sitting in his kennel.
Be right back.
Hi to Cat. She says I said my hellos. Gotta visit everybody. Gotta go visit Cat again. Nope. Gotta go to your house. Let's go. Come on. see you. Come on. Darn. I forgot to set up the dual streaming today. I'm going to log off after her and start a new stream. Because I didn't set it up right. Ugh. That sucks. I'm also thinking I forgot to fix the air conditioners this morning. It's feeling hot in here. That's what happens when I start with a 7 a.m. dog. I'm a little rushed. Yes, Gigi, I love you. Yes, I do. Hold still. Cat's working on George. George has a reputation of screaming when he's just sitting there, much less being worked on, which I will show you later when he's just sitting there. Grand Style Dog Grooming. This is Suzanne. May I help you? So Organic Gal says, my new favorite shears are the Canine Curve Chunkers. I haven't tried those yet. I guess now I gotta try those. The brand is great so far though. I've got 3 of their shears and love all 3. I have 2 on my table right now, a curved and a straight. So a lot of times when I'm sharing products onto my Amazon store, I'm sharing from what I bought. And when I buy something, it's typically in gallon sizes. But what you can do, like say with the Crown Royal, is you can look at the one I got. Here, I'll show you real quick how I would do it if I were looking for other products from the same vendor. So I go to Amazon. Actually, let me take that off. Go to Grooming Safer's Amazon. Bring you guys up on screen. So if I went to Grooming Safer's Amazon page and I went to dog shampoo. So if I wanted a product from this company, so I'm showing gallons here because that's what I bought. What I would do is go to the page and then click on Visit the Crown Royal store. That takes you to their store. And here you have BioVite shampoos. Click on that. And then you see what they have on Amazon. So let's see if they have the number 1 in the small bottle. Doesn't look like they do. They have number 2, they have number 3 in the small bottles. So let me click on, say, do they even have the number 1 on the store? Doesn't even look like they put the number 1 on the store at all. It's probably because they don't share that, they don't sell that much of that one, and I can see why. So, but you can see everything that Crown Royal sells on Amazon. So, they don't sell all their sprays on Amazon either. So that's how I would do it if I were looking to see what a company has available. So you can get to them like through my Amazon page, and then again just click on the store once you click on one of their products. Easy peasy pie. Alright, so that's going to do it for this stream. I'm going to log off and restart the stream because I set it up wrong the first time. So I will see you guys in a few minutes in a new stream. Bye. Today's video was brought to you by our own company, Grooming Safer. I designed the Grooming Safer dog grooming harness with the intent to keep pets safe on the grooming table. This product aids in grooming dogs with collapsing tracheas, senior dogs with mobility issues, and wiggly puppies. The Grooming Safer Dog Grooming Harness is also helpful with dogs who gait or roll or rear up during the grooming process. The harness fits dogs from 2 to 35 pounds. We also have extenders for the dog grooming harness, enlarging it to fit dogs up to 115 pounds. I personally make each harness as they are ordered. Order yours today at groomingsafer.com.